Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel. In this video, I will be showing you how to make this cool looking Fire Beam effect in Unreal Engine 5 Niagara. What's special about this tutorial is that after you finish making the effect, you can control the entire look and feel of the effect using a single curve asset. So here I have this one single curve asset, and if I change the hue, you can see that the color changes like that. So I can get a lot of different looks just by changing the hue here, and the relationship between the colors kind of stays. And I can also change the saturation. I can also reduce the brightness, increase it. So there are a lot of controls here, and you can also change these colors to get a unique effect. So I can set this to like red, then I can set this to like a green color, so I will get an effect like this. And it changes throughout the effect, and you don't really have to go and change the colors one by one, so everything changes with one curve asset. So that's really helpful when you have to fine tune your look, and you can get all the controls here. And one more cool thing is that I have created it in a way that if I just increase the height here, the beam can go longer and longer like that, or come down like this. So you can control the height of the beam also with this symbol parameter. And these two bonus effects are for my patrons. So this energy effect and this electric effect. So you have the same controls as with the flame effect with this one. So I can change the height like this. I can also select the curve, and I can change the hue. So I can change it to a pink color like this, or like this. So you can get a lot of cool looking effect just by controlling these curves. And the same thing with this one. So I can change the curve here. So now I get an effect like this. And I can make it like a fire color or a toxic green color like this one. So you can download all these three effects from my Patreon. So if you like my tutorials and would like to support my work, please consider supporting me on Patreon. For just $5, you can download the full project files from this video and gain access to all the project files from the past 6 years on my channel for just $5. These tutorials take a lot of time and effort to create, and your support will help me keep making more content for you. And if you're already my patron, thank you very much for supporting me. It means a lot to me. You can join and download all the files using the link below in the description. So first we will create the beam particle system. For that, right click, then Niagara system, and click next. Then select the dynamic beam, then click add and finish. I will name this NS Fire Beam and open it up. So here you can see that we have this beam like this. We need to change the loop duration to 0.5, so it loops a bit faster, so we don't have that blinking effect. Now we can reduce the lifetime to 1, maybe 2, so it looks stable. Now we need to make this point upwards. For that, we can create a vector parameter, and we can call this beam height. And now go to the beam emitter setup, and here for the beam end, we can give a value of 900 for the B value for the blue channel, and drag that in, so it will point upwards like this. Now we can go to the beam width, and here click this drop off, so our beam looks like this. Now we can save this, and we can drag this in, so it point upwards. Now we can just type in 900 here, and now rotate it by 180 degree on the x-axis, so it point downwards. So this is what we want. And now we can increase the width of this beam, so we can go to the beam width here, change this value to like 60, so it's really thick. Now we can create the beam material. For that, right click, then click on material, and we will call this M_Fire Beam. Now open it up. Now we need to change the blending mode to additive, which is similar to translucent but a little bit cheaper. And also with additive, you only have a glow effect. You cannot have it to be darker because it is just adding color to the background. Now we can change the shading model to unlit. We only need emission color and opacity. Now get a linear gradient. Now if I just connect this to the emissive color, here you can see that we have a gradient from the bottom to the top like this. We need to have this like a beam core effect. So it should be thicker at the end and it should fall off towards the both halves. So in order to get that, you can just 1 minus this. So it will reverse the effect. Now it comes from top to bottom. So if we just multiply this with its 1 minus and connect it, now you can see that the gradient is kind of going softer towards both ends. Now we can increase the intensity of this material by pressing only M and clicking. So we get this multiply and now connect a 10 value here and connect this to the emissive. So now we get something like this. So here before this, we can just multiply it with itself so this is like powering it by 2. So we get a nicer fall off. And if I connect this here, you can see that the fall off is much softer. Now we need to get another multiply and give it a value of 3. This is for something else later, but just have it here. And now from this, we can just get a subtract. And if I give it a value of 1.3, you can see that we get a highlight line like this in the middle. So this is something we will use in the future. Now we need to bring in 2 textures to this. So for that, we can go to the starter content and now go to the textures in the starter content and go to water and water normal. Then select both of them and drag them in. Now here, press and hold P and click. So we get this panel. Now get your multiply and connect this here so that we can scale the normal map. So here, if I give a value of 0.3, this normal map will be bigger. And now we can go to the MIP value mode and change this to relative and set this value to like 3. So this will make the normal map a bit more softer. This MIP value is something the engine automatically creates. So the engine automatically creates like different version of the texture in different sizes. So when we zoom back out, it will get smaller and smaller. So it's basically like an LOD system for the textures and it automatically creates that. We can set this manually to 3 to get a softer normal map like this. Now here we can give a value of -1.2 and now get a texture coordinate by pressing and holding U and clicking. Now get an add node and here we need to distort this texture with this normal map. But if I connect this here, we will get an error. If I start previewing, we will get an error because this is a RGB, so it's a 3 vector, and here the texture coordinate is just a 2 vector. You can only see 2 colors here, green and red. So we need to mask this. So drag this and type in mask and component mask. Then only tick R and G. Then connect this to the add. Now we can get another panel. So press and hold P and click. And now connect it here. And now give it a value of -0.75 and connect it here. Now duplicate this and get a multiply node and connect it here and connect this to the panel and change this value to like 0.7 and now change this value to like 0.1, -1.3. Now add both red channels together. So now if I preview this, so now we get an effect like this. So I will just stop previewing. Now get a multiply and connect this here and I will just bring it here. And now from the 3, I will connect it here. So we get something like this. Then we can get an add node and connect it here and here. Now we can just saturate this. So this value doesn't go above or below, above 1 or below 0. And now connect this to the opacity and connect this to the MC color. So now we get something like this. Now we need to create a curve to control the color of this. So for that we can go to the folder and go to miscellaneous. Then click on curve atlas and I will call this CAT colors. Then open it up. Here we can set this to like 8. Maybe I will set this to like 128 and this value we can set this to like 8 or something like that. This is the amount of rows of colors you can have. So the height is like the rows of colors we can have. So we can have like 8 colors for this. You can also set this to like 2. It is better to have it at a power of 2. And this texture width also you can maybe reduce if you want. But for this I will just set this to like 4. That's enough. So we can have 4 different colors here. And this width kind of controls the resolution of the gradient. So you can kind of play around with both the values and see which one works better. Now we need to create the curves. So we can go here and right click, then go to miscellaneous, then click curve and get a linear color And now we can name this CB color. Then we can go to the LS and add the coloring. So now you can see that it has added the color to one of the rows like this. Now open this up. So here I will give it a very large bright color like this. And here I click this and I will give a dark pink color like this one. And now I can go to the Fire Beam material, and here I will get a curve atlas parameter, and we can connect this here, and this one I can set this to the color we created. And now connect this to the MC. We will get an error because we haven't selected the curve. So now select the curve. So this is what we will have. Now click apply. Now here we can bring down this value like this, so it's brighter. Now click apply and select this material, and now add this to the ribbon like this. Now we cannot really see anything. We need to fix that. Now if I open the curve and we can adjust these values. Now I can move it here like this, so it will be really bright, or move it in so it will be darker. Now I will click here and add an even darker value like this. And now I can move this back. And I will make this color a bit more darker. So if you want a more darker color, you can also change this to translucent. So it will be darker like this. So that's an option you have. So here after the add, we can get a multiply and set this value to like 20 and connect this here. So we get an effect like this. Now click apply. So now it looks like this. Now we can go back to our curve and bring it in a bit. So we get a look like this. So now I will just bring it back a little bit like this. So now we can get a beam like this. So now we can also go to the beam particle system, and here we can increase the width to like 80. So it's larger and it looks like this. So this is what we want. We can also change the hue like this. So here this color needs to be like this. So for now, this is all we want for the beam here. And now we will create a dark smoke around the beam. So we can just create a new material, m_smoke, then open it up, then change this to unlit and change the blend mode to modulative. So this modulative will just make the particle darker. This modulative blend mode is kind of like the opposite of additive, where additive kind of made everything brighter. This modulative can make everything darker if the value is between 0 and 1, because it is multiplying the background color with the emission color we give here. So it just make everything darker. So to get the smoke effect, we can open our older material and we can bring the linear gradient here and all of this, and press Ctrl V to paste it. Now we can go and get some textures. So now from the start content, we can get this Perlin noise texture, and we can get a panel and give it a value of -1. Then get a texture coordinate and a multiply and give this one a value of 0.1, and get another panel and give this value of, and here give it a value of -0.2. Now we can duplicate this texture, and now we can add both of them together to get a combined effect like this one, like this. Now we can multiply this with this one. Now here we can get a subtract node and subtract the noise from this. So here we get something like this. Now we need to get the opposite of this, so 1 minus this. So this doesn't really give us the desired result. So because of that, we can get a saturate here and connect this to the 1 minus. So now we get the effect we want. So this saturate just clamp the value between 0 and 1. So here, because the multiply was there, some values was going above 1. So that's why we had that bright white color, because it was multiplying with a value above 1. So here we have multiply by 3 and 10. We only need 1. So multiply this by 30 and just connect it here and delete this. So this is what we want. Now click apply. Now we can go back to the material and duplicate this. And we can call this beam dark. Now for the material, we can add the material we created like this. And now for the beam width, I can give a value of 120. So it's really big. So now here you can see that the tiling is really not working for the smoke. So we can fix this by going into the ribbon render, and we can go to the UV setting and select tiled segment length. And for the tiling length, we can give a value of 300. So now our smoke looks like this. And I think we don't really need the tapering off here. So we can just go to the beam width and just click reset to default and click this. And now set this to like 50. And also do the same for this. And set this to like 100. So now we get something like this. Maybe 100 is a bit bigger. So 80. So that's all we need. Now we will add the top part here. So here in the center we have a bright spot. So for that we can go to the Niagara system and right click, then add an emitter, then add a single looping particle. And now for the material, we can go to the starter content again, and we can go to the particles, then materials. Then here we have a radial ramp. We can just duplicate that, then open it up. Then here we can just type in curve atlas parameter, and we can bring in the one we created, CAT color and the color curve. And now connect this to the curve and to the MSC color. Now here we have a really bright spot. Now click apply, then add this one. And now we can go to the sprite size mode and change this to like 200. So now it's barely visible. We can set this to like 700. So it's really visible. And here we can also change the blend mode to additive and click apply. Now we will add the light rays to it. So for that, we can create a new material. So right click and then material, M_rays, then open it up. Then set the blend mode to translucent and the shading model to unlit. Then get a radial gradient exponential. Now right click and type in curve, and we will bring the one we created again. And connect this here and connect this to the MSC color. Now connect this to the opacity. So we get something like this. Now we need to turn this into rays like here. So for that, here we can bring in the fire texture from the starter content. Now get a UV coordinate, then get an add and give a value of -0.5. So it will make the UV coordinate look like this. And now if we normalize this and connect this to the texture sample, we will get rays like this. Now we can also get a panel and give a value of 1 and connect this here. And if I just preview this, we will get rays like this. Now multiply the red channel by itself, so we get a contrasting look like this. Now we can subtract the radial gradient by this rays and saturate this, so the value is clamped between 0 and 1, and connect this here and connect this to opacity. And now if I stop previewing this, we get a rays like this. So click apply and now duplicate this, and now I will call this core rays. And for the material, I will just find this and I will just add it. So it's really big. We don't really want this to be this big. So we can go to the initialize particle and set a value of 300 maybe. Okay, maybe 300. Now I will set this color to a reddish color like this. So this is better. Now here for the center, we can go to the Niagara system again. And here we can add a camera offset of 100. So it will push the particle towards the camera a bit. And now we can make it a bit more brighter by opening the material. And now get a multiply and give a value of 100 and click this. So we get a center with a color like this. So we can fix this by connecting this directly here without the power. We don't really need the power, just connect it here also. And now click apply. So now it's really big. So now we can go back and change this value to like 300 or like 90. So this is what we want. Now we can add the fire effects. So for that we can duplicate this fire M sub UV. So duplicate that. Then I will call this sub UV U2. Then open it up. Then here we don't really need any of these. So we can just delete these clamps and add a saturate here. Then here we don't really need this color connected to here. We can just connect the R, and we don't really need the clamp here either. We can just directly connect this, and we don't really need any of this for this power. So now we have something like this. So we can go back to our array material and just copy our curve atlas and paste it here and connect it directly here and connect this to the MC. And now here we don't really want this to be connected to here. We can just get a saturate and connect it here. So now we get something like this. Here we can get another multiply and connect it after the saturate. So now we can modulate the value of curve. So of the curve time. So we can give a value of 0.8 or 0.7. So now you can see that it's a bit darker at some points. Now click apply. Now just duplicate the core and here go to the emitter state and set this to self. And now untick instantaneous and click add and type in rate and spawn rate. And here we can have a spawn rate of 10 for this. And for the render material, we can add our new fire material in, and now go to the sub UV and change this to 6 by 6 because this sub UV is 6 by 6. So 6 and 6. So 6 rows and 6 columns. That's why we need to give 6 by 6 here. And we need to animate this. So go to the particle update and type in animate sub UV and select sub UV animation. And now select the sprite renderer. So now we get something like this. We need to fix this. So now go to the initialize particle and here undo this and change this to random and 0.8 and 1.2. Now here for the size, we can set this to random uniform and 250 and 300. So it's a really, so it will be really big. Then go to sprite rotation and set this to random. So it will be random like this. And here for the emitter state, we need to set the loop behavior to infinite. So it will loop infinitely like this. Now we can go to our sub UV again. And here we can set this value to like 8. So it's a bit more brighter now. Now here we can go to the curve and increase this value to like 500. So it's a bit more brighter. So now this is what we get. You can also change the brightness like this. And also the hue. And within the material, you can also change the brightness, like changing this to like 0.6. So now it will be really dark or bright like this. And here I will increase the size of this center material to like 120 or something like that. So now we have something like this. And now here maybe we can increase the beam width to like 120. And now for the dark, 180. So now it looks like this. Now we need to kind of blend in the end and the beginning of the beam. So for that, we can open up the ribbon particle. And here we have an effect like this. So we can just duplicate this. And we can do it in the U axis. So if I just connect this here, now we have something like this. we can multiply this after this. So we get something similar to this, and now click apply. So it's very dark now. So we can bring this value up by getting a multiply and giving it a value of 8 or maybe like 20, or maybe we can just switch the place of the multiply. So switch it like this, and after that we will add the center, this center. So that will always be brighter because we are adding it. Now if I click apply, now we can set this value to like 8. So now you can see that it's really dark, so we need to bring it up maybe like 50 or something like that. And now we can reduce the beam width here to 80. Okay, I think that's fine. And now I think the color is a bit too much, so we can select this and go to the color and set the value to like 200 back again. I will fine tune the value towards the end, but right now we can create the blueprint that hold both the beam effect and the impact effect on the ground. So right click, then blueprint class, then click actor, then call it BP Fire Beam, then open it up. Then here we can drag in our Niagara particle system, and here for the rotation we can give a value of -180, and for the height we can give a value of 900, which is the same value we have given here. And while we are here, right click, then rename, then copy this name, then we can go to the construction script and we can drag this in, and here we need to set this parameter. So that's a vector parameter, so we can drag and type in set vector parameter and set vector parameter, and for the parameter name we can just paste the name and we can connect this here, and we can drag and promote this to a variable, and we can call this beam height and tick the eye icon, so we can edit this in the editor, in the world view, in the world. Now drag this in again and get a relative location. So this is the location of the beam, so with respect to this actor. So it is a local location of this Niagara particle system within this blueprint actor. I now set the base height to like 900, and here we can just split this and now drag and type in set relative location and split this and connect the X and the Y. We don't really want to change that. And for the C location we can break this and connect the C here and connect this here and click teleport, so it will just, so it won't do any collision checks. And now if I just drag in the effect, and I will delete our old effect. So now if I increase the beam height, you can see that it is going up like this. Normally you want the origin to stay at the same location and this part to grow, but just for demonstration I'm doing this. If you want the other effect, you can just disconnect this, and now if I compile and increase this, you can see that it is going down like that. But if I connect this and click compile, it will go up. So this is just for the demonstration. So now we need to add the ground effect like this one. So for that, right click, then Niagara system and click next and get the single looping particle, then click add, then finish. Now I will call this NS impact, NS fire impact, then open it up. So here first I will add the rays like this, and I will duplicate this again, and here we can change the size to like 200, and now we can add this to our blueprint like this, so we get an effect like this. So here I think it's really small, so we can increase the size to like 500. So now it's really large. Now for the next particle system, this material, we can get the radial ramp we created. So just add that in and increase the size to like 200. I think that's a bit too much. So open that up and connect this back in like this and connect this to the emissi like this. Maybe set this to like 10 or something and connect this to the emissi and click apply. And now here for the size we can set this to like 400. So here I think it's better to get a constant value of 1 and connect this here and give a value of 1 here, so it's really big, and change this value to like 100 so it's really bright and click apply. Now go back here and change this to 100. So I think that fixes our problems. And here we can also get a depth fade and connect this here and connect this to the opacity, and now get another multiply and connect this depth fade to the emissi color like this with a multiply and click apply. And here now we can set the depth fade to like 10. And now we can go back to the particle system and set the size to 200. So this is what we want. And now we can go back to our original material and set the size to like 200 also. Maybe like 150, that's better. Now we need to add this decal, or you can have this material on a plane, whichever works. But here I'm just going to show you how to make the decal effect so it kind of aligns to the surface. So now to create the decal, right click and select material. I will call this M Fire Decal, then open it up. So here we need to set the material domain to defer decal, and the only blend mode that works with decal is translucent. Even additive don't work, so set this to translucent. Now here we need to get the fire texture. So we can go back to the starter content and go to the textures, then bring in the fire texture, then get a rotator. So it will rotate the texture. So here if I just preview this, you can see that it is rotating the texture, and we can set the speed to like 1. Now get a radial gradient, exponential, and get a lerp, and get a UV coordinate, and connect this here, and connect this to the, and connect this value to the B and also the alpha, and connect this to the coordinate. So we get an effect like this. So we have a center here like this, and this fire is kind of rotating around it, and this fire is rotating around it. Now we can just copy our curve and paste it and connect the R value to the curve and connect this to the emissi color, and now connect this directly to the opacity. So if I just stop previewing this, we get a look like this. So this is what we want. So click apply and save. You can also copy this exact same material and change the material domain to surface and use it on a plane if you don't really want to use a decal. And now here we can duplicate this again, and I will call this decal, and here I will untick the sprite renderer and click add and type in decal renderer. And now for the decal material I will select this material that we created, so select that. So here you can see that it is really small. We need to make it bigger, but if we type in decal size, we don't really get that parameter. So to get that, we can go to the parameters and we can go to the particle attributes and click this plus icon and type in decal, then select the decal size and just drag it into the initialized particle here. And for the float, and here for the vector, we can convert this to a float. So vector from float and set this value to like 500. So it's really big. I don't think we want that. So here we can see that there is this weird effect. If the plane is perpendicular to the surface, we can fix this by going into the decal, and here we can type in scene texture and we can go to the world normal, and now we can get a mask and only tick B. So it will be the vector that faces upwards, and if we multiply this with this one, we won't see that effect here. We won't see the smearing effect. But if I get a sphere, you can see that the effect is there. So if I select this material to something else you can see the decal working on a curved surface. So I will bring it to the middle like this. Now here for the sphere, we can go back to the impact, and this will be the bright spot. We can add a camera offset to this of 200. Maybe that's a bit too much, maybe like 100. And now we can reduce the size to 100. So we get something like this. We can also decrease the size of the decal to like 400. And for the rays here, we can get a depth fade and connect it here and connect it to the opacity and click apply. So that's much better now. Now we can add the flying particles. So for that, we can go back to the impact system and click add emitter. Then go to fountain, and here we could just use the radial ramp. So select that and add that in. Now disable the gravity. We don't really want that. So it goes up like this. Now we can go to the add velocity and increase the cone angle to like 90 and 90. So it goes like this. And now we can go to the initialize particle and set the lifetime to 0.5 and 1. So it only goes this far. And we can also increase the number of particles spawned by going into the properties and GPU simulate, and also click on local space. And now we can increase the spawn rate to like 300 or something like that. And we can also go into the add velocity and change the cone angle to 120 and 180. And now we need a smearing effect here. So for that, we can go to the sprite renderer and change the alignment to velocity aligned. And now we can spread this in the direction of the velocity. So for that, we can go to the particle update and size by speed. So scale sprite size by speed. And here we can set this value to like 0.1 and this to 10. Maybe 1 and 5 and 1 and 8. And now we can go back to the initialize particle and set the size to 3 and 8. And now we can increase the velocity to minimum of 1500 and maximum of 1800. And we can decrease the cone angle to 130. Now here we can increase the drag to 1. It kind of stops like this. Also, we can decrease the lifetime to 1.3 and 0.7. So now we get a look like this. We can also go back to the fire decal, and here if I just get a multiply and give a value of 0.9, and if I go to the base color and give a value of 0, there is some dark color, and now multiply this with the gradient again and connect this to the MC color and click apply. We get a look like this. And now it is almost finished. Now we can go back to the original beam Niagara system, and here for the single looping particle for the camera offset, I will give a value of 200. So I think that looks better now. Also, we can select this ribbon material, and here I will give a value of 100 here. Maybe I will just disconnect it and see how it looks. I don't think it looks better without that. So just connect that and set this to like 20. Now maybe we can reduce the size to 60 and 150 for the beams. So I think this looks much better. And also we can select the beam and go to the UVs and for tile segments, and now we can set this value to different ones. So it will give very different effects like this. So 900 will give an effect like this, but this changes if we change the height. So it is better to go back to the default. And here, now we can go back to the colors and increase this. Now if I move this, I can have very different colors here. So if I click here, I can add a black color. So by changing this, I can have very different colors. You can also decrease the color here. So now you have a lot of control to change the look of your beam. So I think that's everything. So if I just select this and increase the height, you can increase it. So I think that's it for the tutorial, guys. Thank you very much for watching. And if you want to download the entire project file, you can support me on my Patreon and get all the project files from there. Thank you very much for watching.